Yes, sir. Hello, I'm Eagle. Eagle Gardens. Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram. And this is fucking talking shit with Eagle. This is episode 201, a new chapter in the show. Another 100 started. And with that, I have an amazing guest joining me tonight to kick off this next 100 series, Dragon Flame Genetics. How you doing tonight? It is most certainly a pleasure to have you. Oh, that's yeah. There you
Yeah, I had some
go.
echo there.
How you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing good. Doing good. Beautiful day here in Hawaii.
It's a pleasure to have you. Go ahead, my friend. It's your show.
Yeah, just an awesome day here in Hawaii. Trying to get the chat showing, but it's fucking up. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to see chat for this.
No worries. Take your time. We got plenty of time. We can banter a little bit while you take care of that. So yeah, beautiful day in Hawaii, huh? That's beautiful place to be, man. Beautiful place to be. Beautiful place to grow. Wow.
Yeah, this place I'd say is the easiest and the hardest place I've ever grown. I've grown in California and I've grown in Oregon and now here in Hawaii. And by far, I'd say Hawaii is the most challenging and the most strain dependent and the most, you got to be on your shit. Like you have to earn everything here. The humidity is so high, pretty much year round. And the pest pressures are super high as well because they never have any snow or, anything to ever slow them down in the winter. They're here year round. So you got to be on your game here for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do the island thing, man. I'm sure it's a beautiful place. Beautiful, beautiful place. But man, I'm surrounded by, like you said, all that big ocean there, 2,700 miles. Woof. That's a long way to swim.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely right now. We just moved over in January. So we really only had a small window to experience Hawaii before COVID took over fucking everything. So we've definitely not even really seen what Hawaii is really about. Everything here is, they've been locked down for quite a while now. So it's been pretty much, which is, anyway, what we've been doing, we'd be locked down to the property regardless. So, it kind of comes with the territory, building up a new property.
Yeah. So, well, let's get this thing started. What has led you up to creating all these beautiful strains that you've created? When did you start with the plant? I mean, what set you out on your journey?
Yeah, so for me, in high school, me and my friends would hide plants basically anywhere we could. I grew up in California, so you could pretty much put any strain out and it would do great. And then as an adult, I started growing more as a profession during the 215 era in California, when you could get it just your $150 99 plant card and no further government involvement or regulations to really have to worry about. And then we moved up to Oregon, or I moved up to Oregon, I should say. And I brought a lot of my California genetics with me, cuts and clones and that sort of stuff. And when I got to Oregon, I quickly realized that the typical California genetics do not thrive in the cold and in the wet and in the short season that Oregon had. So that's pretty much what got me started breeding, was out of necessity, having to, pick the best stuff that I could get to finish without molding, without getting PM, without having death by frost. And so that's basically where Dragon Flame Genetics started, was doing mold hardy genetics. And word of mouth really spread. There definitely, when I first started, there was a lot of need for, genetics that were designed to be in the short season. Going from an indoor grow room breeding program or a NorCal breeding program is entirely different. the selections are entirely different, and you really need the specialized stuff for the short season. And that's the outdoor genetics, the outdoor grower. That is our what has really launched us the most. When we were in Oregon, we also did indoor as well. We had a large indoor facility, so we did. We do have some of the more showy, indoor stuff that I wouldn't recommend doing outdoor in Oregon. So we had those kind of projects going as well. That, and I mean, cannabis is pretty much my life's work. It's what I've never had a real job to speak of. So it's been something that I want to find the best. I want to find the unique stuff. I want to find the stuff that I've never seen before. And then it's also just the fun of seeing, this strain has this, this terp and this structure, but maybe it needs a little bit more bag appeal, or maybe it needs to finish a little bit faster. But then you have this strain, that you hope will combine nicely and kind of come together to create a strain that has all the hits all the boxes. And that's always the fun of breeding, is seeing how projects come together and seeing how things combine and what you can pull out, especially when you do the larger hunts. Something when you can plant a 200 or 300 of them and really go through and see what the line really has. You can start finding the outlier stuff and the really awesome ones that hit every box. So that's our basic method, or where we started from, I suppose.
Nice. I love to speak with people like yourself that has made a lifelong dedication to the plant, if you will. And so I appreciate this is going to be a good one, I can tell. So tell me what led up to the passion of your plant. I understand you started growing early on, but how'd you get there? I mean, when was that first time you used, and what necessarily led to the grow? I mean, you said it was necessity, but was it actually you had to throw the plants in the ground to keep things going? I mean, let us in a little bit on the person. And then the second part of that is I sense there's a team effort here because I hear a lot of we. So you got to lead us up to the we part of things as well.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I kind of had a rougher childhood and was in group homes. And so I was really young when I was exposed to cannabis for the first time. And, I had a lot of anxiety and, was kind of a shithead kid, basically. And cannabis has been the path that's kind of, got me to be where I needed to be as a man, where it needed. It's taught me the lessons that I needed to learn to grow. And it's kind of been just a relationship back and forth where nurturing her has also nurtured my life and made, my life so much better. So it's been definitely an evolution of really loving the plant, loving the way it makes me feel. There's a lot of stress to life. There's a lot of, things don't always go pretty, and things aren't always easy. And cannabis helps make that easier. It makes the journey more fun, for sure. And that's, I could have never predicted all the people that I've met, and all the crazy paths that it's taken me down. And there's been a lot of sacrifices. I've got 2 ex-wives that, cannabis also played a big part in. Being a grower's wife is not easy. There's a lot of challenges and a lot of little sacrifices that can definitely add up over time. And it's not always easy, especially if you don't have the right partner, which that leads to we. So I met my wife, and we've been together now for over 6 years. And, she's been integral to the building DFG to what it is now. She lovingly calls me the Tasmanian devil. I'm, always in work mode, always, doing one project after another, and she kind of smooths the rough edges off. And she does all of our orders now. She does all of our seed packaging, all of our sorting of the seeds, all of the orders, all the mailing. That's um, her big side. She does all of our marketing material. So all of our promo sheets and all of our drop materials that we use, she's the one behind it. She asked me the questions of, what's the strain, terps, that kind of stuff, and she types it up and makes it looks good and picks the pictures. I pull all the pictures I have of the strains together on the hard drive, and then she goes through and she actually picks, which one she wants to use for the materials, and then I do all the gardening, the actual hands-on with the plants. It's just me and her. We don't have investors. We don't have deep pockets. We're just a husband and wife team. Trying to have a good life. We're trying really hard to have an off-grid, sustainable permaculture farm here in Hawaii. Whether people want to admit it or not, climate change is real. It's affecting our food supply already, and it's something that is part of what made the jump to Hawaii, is to be able to grow more of our own food and to be able to not have to pay thousands a month to do indoor gardens, to be able to grow outdoors nearly year round under greenhouse and true outdoor with specialized genetics. So that's been kind of our mission, to be able to grow and produce the cleanest, best flour we can, the cleanest and best live resin we can, the cleanest and best seeds that we can. That's our mission.
It's awesome, brother. I'm glad that you finally found a nice person that you can share your life and the plant with. You know, I sometimes relationships can be much like that pheno hunt we have in the garden. Sometimes we do select the wrong one. And so
Sometimes you got to pull.
I'm glad you've picked out a winner this round. So man, that's awesome, and it sounds like it's a positive thing, and it's going to go a long way, because it takes a team effort. It really does. When you wake up in the morning, you have to have that positive attitude, and when you have somebody, it sounds like you do, that is very passionate about what's going on. Wow, does it make it so much easier to get shit
Yeah,
done? So
yeah,
that's awesome, brother.
yeah. And we've been through quite a journey. We've had a lot of hurdles to get to where we are now, and it's definitely been sacrifice and work, and having love between us. So it's always a journey for sure.
Another thing you said that really kind of hit my ear is the plant helped you evolve. Man, do I find that to be so true in so many ways and in so many people.
Hmm.
And see if this rings true with you a little bit, or what you know. But for me, I've always found a value in the cannabis plant. Many ways. At one point, it just helped me survive, as you said. Uh, I found a lot of relief in the plant early on, and some recreational use in the plant as well. But it wasn't until that I actually started growing the plant where it really began the evolution in me. Cultivating that plant definitely changes you. I mean, there's something about it, that just spending time in that room, and it makes you want to learn more. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's one of the funniest things. It's not funny. It's funny and it's not funny, but I know almost most of the people across the board, when they took on growing this plant, never seen themselves diving as deep into the plant, and sitting through seminars about soil, and because it's a huge evolution. And yeah, It's a wonder plant, it really is. So
Yeah.
is that does that ring pretty well true with you? I mean, how did you know? When did you find that passion, and can you tell me a little bit about that first grow?
Yeah. So that does ring true. It's one of those things I would say, at least for me, my garden is a reflection of me. Like when I'm not on it, like when I'm in a bad headspace or if I'm making excuses, the garden reflects it. And like how clean I keep things and how on point I keep things. It's like a mirror. And on the flip side too, like when the garden is raging, that feeds my happiness too. Cause I'm like every time I walk in, when you walk into a healthy garden, there's nothing like it. And for me, like especially with the full terms, that's the one part of moving to Hawaii that is not 100% sitting perfect with me. Is I miss the full terms. There's something incredibly special about walking in among 48 huge monster plants that tower over your head, and when they're in transition and flower, they have a life force that you just can't deny when you're in the garden. And that's my happy place personally. Um, so it's definitely like one of those symbiotic relationships where the happier you can keep her, the happier she can keep you, and then in return, the flowers, happy, healthy plants produce the best flowers. You're not gonna get the true top shelf out of stress plants. You're not gonna get the true top shelf out of spider mite infested or PM or sick plants or plants that aren't raging. That's just the reality. So
Oh, I definitely believe that. 100%. That's why I'm a firm believer they'll never be able to achieve like a craft cannabis, superior craft cannabis on a huge level, because they're just, try as you will. Uh, I don't think you could get that much love as the garden needs in there to be a craft cannabis. You know what I mean? Get that personal touch on every plant that you know to vibe off of, to get that true
yeah,
flavor and all that. I mean, uh, they are alive. They do feed off of us in their environment. I mean, I think that once you lock them into a room and don't pay no attention to them, auto feed them and everything else, yeah, sounds
yep,
like a pretty bland existence.
yep. And the kind of the analogy that I think about too is like when it comes to food and nutritional density, where a lot of the more commercial ag, as you want to call it, uh, nutritional density compared to organic, like true living soil, like that the difference is that's kind of the analogy that I use. That seems to make sense to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's for sure, for sure. Uh, so let's tell me about that little grow. Let's see, where did this start off? I mean, how you know, did it start off with some cocoa and a couple of pots and light?
No,
I mean, how
I
far off the?
yeah. So my first outdoors were just soil, right in the ground, letting them get as hopefully not too big to attract attention was the biggest thing. You'd have to hide them in places that were a pain in the ass to get to, and at least if you wanted any crops. So that was the earliest days, but I would say the first true indoor, looking back, is like some super ghetto tech. It was under an iguana cage, just a 4 foot little homemade um, iguana cage that we barely were able to fit some CFLs in. That was the very first indoor, and then from there it was using a garage and taking the old 600-watt, like the old school with the big ass dome, and it had the connected ballast on top, having to rewire it to do a remote ballast. And that was the first, I'd say, commercial for at least that I did. And that was soil, predominantly. I've been a soil grower for most of my grow time. I've done cocoa, it's not my personal favorite. Usually when I've done cocoa, it's because I've had no choice. Living soil doesn't happen overnight, and we've kind of rapidly expanded a few times. And so there's been a few runs where we've done cocoa, and I can tell the difference when I grow in cocoa not using KNF. We did a side by side when we had to, and we had at one of the old indoor facilities we had, it was a 40 light setup, and it was 5 rooms, like on a barn, 12 by 12 rooms, and then we had 8 lights per room on most of them. Then there were some that were 6. But on the cocoa room, we did, I think we did House and Garden was the new company that we used. Yeah, it was House and Garden. And then I did one of my rooms at, my traditional living soil with KNF. And I mean, most people, were fine with the cocoa, didn't, had no complaints. But both my wife and myself, when we would smoke it, it just felt harsher. It didn't have the same cuts, just didn't have the same power that they did. And definitely the harshness of the smoke was way different. So it's always been times like, we haven't really wanted to do it, but it's just been, you can grow good quality with, anything if you know what you're doing, keeping the plants healthy and, doing a really proper flush. But for us, living soil is, that's our method. And we try to do as much permaculture as possible. With our current setup, we're still like getting everything dialed in and getting compost and worm bins and all of that. And it takes, about 6 to 10 months to start totally over with KNF. And when we moved, we couldn't bring all of our ferments. So we've had to basically start from scratch, redoing all the ferments here. And it just, takes a little bit of build up time to have everything properly fermented. So here we've been doing a lot heavier top dressings, and, we've been using like bottled sea kelp and, that kind of stuff, which, it gets the job done, but we're definitely on the path to have everything back into, a recycled soil, no-till, or at least a light till. Sometimes I flip pots out and kind of remix it if they're getting too compacted. But generally, the living soil with the ferments is, it's the best flower that I've ever come across, has always been from other KNF growers. And it's, in my personal opinion, from everything that I've, and I've, been doing this a long time. And I used to also flip pounds for people. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of flower from a lot of different methods, a lot of different growers, a lot of different environments. And, generally speaking, I'd say KNF is producing the terpiest, it's producing the cleanest, it's producing the stickiest. It's definitely not producing the best yield. I'll say that, but the quality is where it's at.
I agree with that quality, that's for sure. Uh, so let's help some of us out. I mean, if we were gonna start building a soil, where would we start? If, walk one of us. I'm fixing to dip my feet into some organics or step out of the cocoa realm myself. So if I wanted to, start off and some soil, could you walk me through a process of getting some started?
Yeah. So, the basic ratios for really awesome soil, is a base, earthworm castings, and aeration. So you could use your cocoa as your base, and then that's your 1/3. So however much cocoa, then that much of earthworm castings, and then either perlite or vermaculite or rice hulls or something along those lines for aeration. Mix it thoroughly, and then on the KNF side, IMO, doing the IMO process and treating that soil that you just made with the IMO. That'll get it started. That'll get your solid foundation. And then from there, it's just a matter of treating your soil right. It's a matter of cover cropping. It's a matter of never letting it go bone dry. Even if there's no plants in it, never let it go bone dry. Um, and you know, and then on top of that, once you have the ferments going for KNF, the ferments will keep feeding the soil life. But you know, your cover crops, you chop them down, leave them right on top. Every time you de-leaf, all your leaves go on top of the pot, unless they have pests. That's the one that, you know, don't just move. If you have spider mites, don't just move them down onto the pot. Get rid of the leaves. Same thing with PM. You know, you don't want to just compile it. Now, theoretically, I will say, and you know, when your soil is really rocking and you have tons of life, they will take care of pests. You know, the balance will be in the good guy's favor. But however, when you're, you know, good practice is just, if there's pests, if you see it, get rid of it. You know, that goes into the compost unless it's systemic. You know, if it's like a fusarium, that kind of stuff, I'd say burn. You know, get it off your property, get it out of your grow rooms. And then you know, the other thing too that a lot of, especially on outdoor grows, having a mulch on your top of your soil is huge. That'll save so much water. Your plants will be happier. Your root zone will be happier. You know, 4 to 6 inches of a straw is absolutely great. You know, that usually you can find local straw for, you know, pretty inexpensive, and a couple bales goes a long way. You can get a few hundreds done, or if you're doing a small garden, you know, can cover a pretty big area. And then from there, it's, you know, I'd say it's just after every cycle, do a top dressing. You know, I'm a big fan of BioLive from Down to Earth. That's, you know, one of my go-tos. BE1 pellets are another great one. Those are both organic products that you can use for top dressing. And then, you know, anything that you can start making a Korean natural farming. Chris Trump's YouTube videos are an absolutely phenomenal place to start. They're it seems complicated when you try to look at all of it at once, but I swear, once you've figured out this one piece and you do it a few times, it's super easy. And once you see like what it's supposed to look like and what it's supposed to smell like, it's a pretty easy process, and it wants to do it. Like when you're doing the ferments, like, you know, if you're using good starting material and good sugar, it wants to ferment. The good life wants to break it down. So, you know, you're working with nature, which, you know, I always recommend, if you can, work with nature, because it's a lot harder to work against her. She'll make your life a lot harder. So
I guess when we talk about using sugars, should we be using more molasses and raw sugars? Just limited to that?
So I'm actually not a fan of molasses at all. My personal favorite that we seem to be able to find even on this island is the pure cane demura sugar, or the raw brown Yaggerty is another source. You want it as close to nature as possible. That's, you know, the key. You don't want it super refined. You don't want it bleached. You want as unrefined as possible and as close to the source. You know, that's basically, the sugar is what keeps the ferment going towards the good guys. That's what keeps it from going anaerobic. So that's why.
So it makes me wonder, you know, hearing how sugars are so key in breaking things down makes me want to just cut them completely out of my diet. To be really honest with you.
That's the ongoing battle
So,
for me too. Is for me, it's drinks. I love a sugary drink, and that's my downfall. If I could cut sugar drinks out of my diet, I'd probably lose 20 pounds.
so help us out. You also mentioned, you know, hitting that batch with some IMO. Could you tell us where we should look for, you know, some of the microbes, and how to kick that off?
Yeah. So in your IMO collection, you cook the rice, and then you're using the rice as a food source for microbes. and bacteria and fungus. So the best places to find them is places where nature has been working. Just places where there's a lot of leaf litter, where it's been packed on for years at a time without humans fucking with it. You want to get places as where humans are not putting their trash, putting their garbage, walking animals through. You want undisturbed. Um, Places that are already decaying. That's the magic to it. And if you're doing a proper collection, you'll see mycelium in especially older growth or in older undisturbed locations, and that's where you want to go from. And then on your own property, generally I like to do one off of my compost pile and off of my earthworm bin. That seems to be a pretty foolproof way. We also like to go here on our property. We have a bamboo grove that's 30 years old. So I'll go in there and I'll pull a bunch of the leaf litter out from inside the bamboo canes and pull some of whatever soil I can scrape. That's a great collection. Bamboo is one that feeds ground dwelling microbes already. So you're harnessing part of a process that bamboo does on its own and using it for your good. And generally the bigger your property is, like obviously if you're on a small suburban lot, you're going to have to go elsewhere to be able to collect IMO, unfortunately. In the suburbs, humans have degraded it so far that it's no longer, the bacteria and stuff that's growing there is no longer, really what you want to be collecting. You really want to get areas where nature has been allowed to balance the microbial life. And so if you have a big property, it's best to do several collections. I like to do one from some spots that are full sun, and then I like to do a collection from a spot that's more shade. And I like to do, on our property, we have a high spot and a low spot. I like to do a collection from the high and a collection from the low spot. And so basically the theory is each little section of microclimate, from your property, nature is going to be breeding different life forms there. They breed so fast that any changes in microclimate, it can be 100 feet away. That doesn't matter. If the average conditions are different, nature is breeding something different there. And so that's the theory, is you want to pull as much diversity from your property as you can, or from your area. You don't want to go to another state. You want to keep it as local as possible. That's the idea. And then I always recommend to people to start an earthworm bin or to start a compost pile and just keep piling on. Let what life is gonna break it down, and then go to the bottom, and that can be a spot on a suburban lot where you give it enough time of nature processing all that compost, and then you can pull a collection at least from your climate. But I'd give it at least 6 months, if not a full year, so that you're not just pulling the very, very early stages that are probably coming off of the food, like all the food waste bacteria. You want it to kind of cycle through that, if that makes sense.
Right, it does. It does. So another question I have for you is, a K&F user. Uh, as you've traveled and moved around a little bit there, what are some of the inputs that you use in your surroundings, and have you found a difference from place to place in quality? Like, say, in the tropical zone that you're in now, from back from where you were, have you found like, wow, this batch is extremely explosive of the same inputs, you know, from that I would have used back home. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say Hawaii is a pretty special place for KNF. There's definitely a lot of really active ferments that we're making. We're on an island, so we have obviously ocean all around us. So for our fermented fish, We have so many varieties of fish that we can, like we just started a 50-pound batch in a 50-gallon drum that it was all free from a local fisherman. He had just caught it that day. I mentioned to him that I'd like his scraps, and he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, I got scraps. Come get them." And, it's all huge pieces of ahi and mahi brains and whole carcasses and guts, that would have been waste. But for fermenting purposes, that's perfect. Like that'll ferment great. And straight from the ocean is always teeming with life, and that's a really powerful ferment. That, and here in the tropics, there's a multitude of fruits that are always coming into ripeness. So there's always something fresh off the tree that you can ferment. The fresher the ingredient is, the better it'll ferment. Ideally, I mean, in a perfect world, you'd be growing all your own ferment material. Again, for us, we grow all of our own borage, we grow all of our own comfrey. And then for the cannabis, usually the plants that I'm culling become our cannabis ferment, and those are our three major plant juices that we use, and that covers, a pretty broad spectrum of nutrition. And then so the fruits, I mean, this last batch, we did soursop and guava and jackfruit and papaya and banana, and it's probably one of the most active fruit ferments that I've ever seen. That I've ever made. So it's definitely that. And the cool thing with Hawaii is there's already a heavy KNF presence here. So there's a lot of personal resources that you can reach out to. Whereas in Oregon, you say KNF and most of the people kind of just give you a look like, what the hell are you talking about? Like there's classes here to get KNF certified, and people can come to the Big Island to get KNF certified if they choose. Right now with COVID, they're not doing them. Hopefully that does not stay the norm. It'd be nice for them to get back into the habit of doing them. But, I don't know what the timeline is on that.
I hate when I forget to unmic there, my friend. Sorry about that. Somebody in chat brought up a point. It kind of makes me wonder as well. In the fermenting process, it brings a lot of alcohols to the game, and we hear alcohols and sugars, alcohol and sugars. Is it checks and balances? What you're kind of trying to achieve in the K and F with the alcohols and sugars? There is it a sweet balance you have to maintain there?
So especially with the fruits, when you ferment those are definitely have a little bit of booze to them. And they taste like booze when it's like a sweet drink. And so, I mean, the beauty of what fermentation does is everything that the plant is eating when you're in an organic garden has to be processed by something else first. So in fermentation, that's already happening. It's being processed during the fermentation by the bacteria that in a perfect system was existing on that material already, ready to break it back down. Like when a garden has been being grown KNF or organically and not being sprayed with any chemicals, the bacteria that want to break down, like say borage or say comfrey or cannabis, are already on it. Like they're covered in, every inch of surface is covered in the exact bacteria that one day will break it down. So that's happening in the fermentation. It's instantly available when you use it. It's, when you spray a ferment on plants, within an hour, you will see the truth of KNF because they will pray incredibly hard because they are happy as hell getting that ferment. You also have, it doesn't take much, foliars, I'm talking 3 to 5 mils on most ferments per gallon. So it's doesn't take much. It's instantly available. And then the other thing with fermentation too is it alters the amino acids and it alters the chains that make it to where they're able to capture more of the enzymes than they would if you just top dressed it. Like for instance, bamboo as a ferment is incredibly powerful because bamboo has an enzyme in it that allows it to grow at such record-breaking speeds. So when you ferment it, some of that enzyme is able to be captured, and when you foliar it, some of that enzyme goes into the plants, which helps them vigorously grow. And it's you can see it when you use it that it's the plants love it. I mean, there's a good ferment when you've done them right. Um, the plants absolutely love them, and the soil life loves them. Um, anything that you've top dressed after you hit with a IMO and the ferments, they'll all be covered in growth. I mean, you'll see it's a beautiful process that you can depend on. Like nature has set this up to do a certain thing, and if you tune into that, she'll do it, and you get to sit back and watch, and it's a fun process.
Yeah. There's a thriving herb in chat that would like to know if you're the same Dragon Flames genetic on Bean Base Bed.
Yes, yep, I'm on Caps Forum. I have that thread going. We are trying to keep it updated, although life is often crazy, and I do not update as much as I really wish I could. I'm also on THC Farmer. That one, same thing. I try to keep updated, but it's hard to. Instagram is probably what I keep the most updated because it's the simplest. I can do it right from my phone. We try to run all of our photos through Lightroom first to put our logo on them and to clear all the metadata and all that shit off of them, but that doesn't always happen. So a lot of times it's just right through my phone on Instagram. So
There's also another question in chat, if you don't mind. The Major General 420 Army would like to know if you use your inputs for terps, and which ones basically do you use. All right, let me see here. Ask him if his inputs or which juices have affected the terp profiles, if any.
yeah, so the two big terpene boosters from KNF are the OHN garlic, and that's because garlic has sulfur in it, and sulfur is a terpene booster. And then the other one is fermented mango will enhance mercerin production in strains that would naturally produce mercerin. So that those are the two, that are the terp boosters, so to speak. Although, the when you already have living soil that is properly balanced, what KNF does is it supercharges everything, basically. Before we did KNF, we were already doing soil with top dressing and compost tea and having, really good results. But KNF, when we heard about that and started implementing KNF, we saw really quickly the results that the results speak for themselves when you know, if you listen to your plants and you use KNF once, you're going to want to use it again. I mean, that's just that simple. But where I was going with that is a plant that's in super healthy mode is already going to produce more terps than a plant that is just on cruise control or that's just there. It's doing good, but it could do better. And that's basically that's where KNF comes in. Is it gets you that last little bit of oomph out of it that you can, and it can take a good garden or a great garden, and put it into, that's where the epic top shelf, the truly, this when it comes out and you remember it 5 years down the road, those are that's the quality of that, you want, or that you strive for. At least I strive for, And I gotta turn my lights on really quick. 1 second.
No problem, buddy. What's going on, chat? Allie Noble, Kazoo, Jack Greenstock, Johnny Seed, Yoda Grows, Thriving Herb, Blind Cat 420. You guys are amazing. Hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. Who else we got? Chat E, Bill Sid, of course, the Major G3. Appreciate you popping in. Cade Strong.
Okay.
I'm a little curious myself as an organic grower and breeder. Do you believe that growing organically your strains allows you to more accurately pull out the best phenols? Because like you're saying, you've got, you know, the happiest plants you can pull out and they're pushing their terps. It's got to be, you know, somewhat easier, in your opinion, I'm not putting words in your mouth, to pull out phenols.
That really comes down to the line. I mean, some lines, like perfect example, right now we have 28 Mac Dragons in flower. They're week 7.5. And I'd say most people would have been able to find a keeper out of 2 or 3 seeds. The problem becomes which one is the absolute best. And that becomes the challenge, you know, trying to figure out. And you're talking, you know, sometimes it's not, you know, it's this whole, just this littlest bit that can make the difference. You know, and then some strains, yes, you know, some strains, there are standout plants that you can spot 10 feet away that, you know, that's a keeper. You know, when you can smell the terps before you've even gotten to the plant, you know, that's a pretty good idea that's going to be, you know, at least something that's going to get run at least one more time to see if it can be improved on. You know, that's at least for me part of what I consider to be a keeper, is if you can dial it in even better. If, you know, first run is great, but then next run I want it to be even better. I have a better relationship with that plant. I should be able to get it to perform even better than I did on the first go round. And to me, that's, you know, a true keeper. There's, you know, great strains. There's a lot of great strains, but like those truly elite plants that, you know, they stand out. When you come across them, you don't even, you know you've come across one, you know, and that's, you know, at least from my experience, what I see.
Wow, you said something else that really hit home with me as well, and that is, you know, second rounding. Second rounding, I think, is very critical because I don't think, especially when we're talking from seed here,
Yeah.
uh, I don't think that everything has come out that first round. The whole expression of the plant, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think's there until that second round.
Yep.
I've argued with many breeders about what, you know, wanting that strain report, you know, right off the bat first run. I'm like, that ain't, no, that's not fair. I haven't, you know, there's so much to be learned on that second round. I liked the first run, let them natural. Second round, manipulate them a little bit, but I don't think the whole structure, terpene profile, blood structure is apparent until that second round. I love to hear that you go that extra step before making your decision.
Yeah. You know, and that's, you know, there's everyone has their own kind of methods. And I mean, some things don't necessarily change, but some things definitely do. And especially when you're talking, I do a lot of work with more heirloom, land race, true undomesticated, or, you know, more of the true sativa, and how they perform from seed is always, not always, but nearly always vastly different than how they'll do from clone. I mean, we've got a golden dragon from seed. It's too dark to see it now, but we've got one from seed that is literally 9 months into flower right now, and it looks less into flower than I have a clone down in my greenhouse that flipped on the shorter days, and it's week 8, and it looks further in than the one that's 8 months. So it's, I mean, that's, we'll see how they actually, when the actual finish times come in, you know, that I don't have yet, but I'm already seeing, you know, that's a pretty substantial difference. And you know, that really comes down to the sexual maturity of the plant. When they're clones, they're already sexually mature, they're ready. You know, they definitely, at least in my opinion, they perform differently. um, and you know, not every strain. Some strains, you know, they're not. You know, but even year to year, room to room, environment to environment, there's so many variables and there's so much human involvement that, that's consistency between runs, and seasons and grows is all, that's something that we all have to, at least in my opinion, strive for. Um, some runs you get super lucky, and some runs you have to fucking work for it. And some runs, no matter what you do, you ain't gonna get it. That's the name of a plant with a mind of its own sometimes.
Right on, right on. So, when you're breeding there, how do you find your studs? Tell me about a little bit about them. Do you keep them around? Do you have a few gems that you keep, or do you pull them out with each selection? Like you're saying, you drop some beans, and as you pheno hunt that female, are you looking for a good male to throw aside as well to do in that project, or do you already have one pre in mind for a project?
Well, that's kind of evolving for us. Typically, in years past, what we would do is our full term garden, we would plant way more seeds than I could ever actually fill spots with. And we every time usually I would transplant, usually I would cull whatever wasn't impressing at that stage. And then I'm someone, if I see PM, it's a cull. If I see mold, stem rot, these are traits that I don't carry on in lines. I want those eliminated. So I don't typically breed with plants. There are a few exceptions, like I breed with the triangle kush, and it'll get PM, but it's a pillar of cannabis, and I try to kind of baby her through runs, knowing that you know, and there I guess there's an exception to every rule, but so generally when I do my stud selection, usually when they're from seed, I'll torture test them. I'll leave them root bound. I'll underwater them. I'll overwater them. I'll let them get 4 foot tall. I'll chop down 3 feet of it. I'll usually, especially in Oregon, what part of our selection process is I would take them from an indoor room and I would move them straight out into full sun with absolutely no transition and see, when I'm looking for males, we have such, it takes so long to really hunt a male that, usually we can only do, 1 or 2 a year. So it's like, we really have to use the absolute best that we can find. So, usually by the time I've found my stress testing run male, that is one that we'll put aside, and usually I'll save a clone of my males, and I won't actually determine if they're a keeper until I've run the prodigy. You could have the absolute sexiest male that has all the resistance in the world, that looks great, that has stellar terps, but if they don't pass along those traits to their offspring, then it's not worth keeping. So it's more than just that the male has it. It's also, for me to evaluate as a keeper, I have to see what it passes along. Generally, I do try to keep a male around. We've moved quite a few times this last 2 years, over here to Hawaii. We had to do a garden reset. So this year, we're kind of starting basically from scratch, in the sense that we're doing all new selections. We're here, our big fight here is humidity. It is 99% humidity every single night here. We get tons of rain. It is hot and humid here every day. So our fight here is fungus. So, usually we will pop, several hundred seeds, and just automatically anything that is weak, anything that gets PM is automatically tossed. Anything that can't take the climate that I'm growing in is, I'm not going to grow it. I have a fridge full of seeds. There's no point in growing things that, are susceptible. So that's for our breeding program. We're trying to make it to where that we don't have to spray. We don't have to fight. We don't have to, bash your face against the wall, trying to keep rot and PM off. And so, some lines, it's pretty easy, you can, and then from there, from our first stress testing, then we'll do a clean run where I'm actually seeing what's the potential? What can this plant do when it's happy, when it's firing on all cylinders? And that's at that stage, that's when usually I'll pull as, okay, you're going to get a room or you're going to get a full term garden. That's how, we do our greenhouse. We have to seed the entire thing. That's the way we do it. That way we have enough seed stock to put it through testing. We want to see how it does on the East Coast. We want to see how it does on the West Coast. We want to see how it does in indoor. We want to see how it does for noobs. We want to see how it does for pros. That's our thing. So it takes, we give out a lot of testers to, evaluate which lines are worth continuing, which lines are worth releasing, which lines, people are really responding to, which lines, we need to dig deeper in, and that's kind of the puzzle piece. And so like right now, we're kind of branching more into we can do more runs per year. So now I'm kind of planning them out a little bit more as to I need to start this many seeds on this to be able to get through this stage and this stage at this time with this greenhouse. So this property is definitely making me have to be a little bit more meticulous about when I do things, instead of just being able to start everything at the beginning of the year full term and have the whole year to evaluate. And then we're also taking on a second property that's down the road that is going to be our pheno hunting flower production spot. So that spot, we're going to, that's going to be where we're going to be able to run, a ton of one line, find, okay, this female, that female, this one, and, really start polishing down some of our lines that are now sold out, that people have, really loved, and that we're like, okay, we need to get this, back into cycling. That, and here in Hawaii, since we're restarting, we're also trying to find all of our moms for all the niche reasons. We're trying to find our commercial type. We're trying to find the ones that we can put outside the greenhouse that will not mold, that we can run a whole bunch of them and process it for live resin. So we've got quite a few balls in the air that we're trying to keep juggled, and we're pretty much going full steam ahead with DFG, trying to get, we're trying to build our farm and build our homestead here on this property.
So I heard you mention, planting the seed. Is that something that you do with every crop? I mean, are you a firm believer in straight to soil transfer there, that you get that taproot vigor? Is that something, or do you start your outdoor crops with clones?
Typically we're from seed. When we do our breeding side, that will be from clone, just because in order to breed with it, I have to know what it's going to do, and in order to do that, obviously, I have to run it. So when we actually are seeding something, that's a clone that we've worked with, that we're going to be putting in. And usually I'm more loose with moms. Like, we have a lot more space to put moms. And I think that there's some lines that maybe they're not complete, like they need this or they need that, so I'll sometimes I'll just throw the ball and let's see what comes out of it. So on the mom side, it's a lot easier, I think, to find moms that you could use to make awesome stuff. I for breeding purposes, I'd say the male side is the real test. Like, a proper stud is gonna improve everything it touches. Like, I mean, that's the best males that pass along great traits. Those make awesome offspring. Will do it predictably. Those are the studs that are that are worth finding, I guess, so to speak.
So I guess one question in chat where what are some signs of stress on a male that are negative that you're looking for, and secondly, how much do you think that male is bringing to the table? Exactly. Does it depend on the female? Can the female be overdeering? You know what I mean? Have you ever tried to breed with a certain pheno and she just wouldn't take that? She would
Yeah.
obviously breed, but just wouldn't take it straight.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, the one that instantly comes to mind is the Mac one. She won't take pollen. We had a huge 5 pound plant that we were trying to seed outdoor full term, and we made 200 viable seeds compared to plants that made gallon sized bags full of seeds. So that one comes to mind. And then some just don't want to do what you want them to do. Like the Orange Dreams, I love it. It's one of our lines that I've been trying to get something to be able to make release for years now. And we've tried reversing. She does not want to reverse. She does not want to make pollen. We've tried several phenos. This last run, we were able to make some seed, but not, we weren't able to fully seed the greenhouse like we were hoping to. She just doesn't want to. So plants definitely, sometimes have a mind of their own, and we just do our best. And some projects, you have the best intentions, and you can put in all the work, but some projects just don't come together. Sometimes that's just the luck of the draw, or luck of genetics, I should say. And I think too a big part of it is like what your selection criteria is. In California, where the climate is like, oh, you want to grow cannabis, hoorah, let me help you. That's entirely different than growing in a climate that is more challenging, that has hurdles that have to be overcome to have a successful harvest. um, so that's the selections that you would do in California can be a lot looser than the selections that you might do, like say if you're in Canada or Hawaii or Washington or Florida. Those are all your climate kind of dictates. At least for outdoor, I'm speaking for outdoor. Indoor, money and climate control dictate. You throw enough money at a facility and have it to where you can perfectly control every aspect of the climate. That's a whole nother realm to what Mother Nature will throw at a plant. And so the side about what males like, stress in males, vigor, the color of the leaves, the vibe, the happiness of the plant. The weak ones usually show themselves. You beat them up enough, and you can find the breaking point. And the challenge is finding the ones that you can take to the breaking point, but will still keep going. That will still will still finish, won't destroy themselves, won't die off, won't mold out, won't stem rot. That's for males. And generally on a stress test, I will let them go until they absolutely will not go anymore, because I want to see, if okay, at week 16, do they suddenly start throwing female pistols? That's something that I think you should know as a breeder for your males. Is it something where if this variable and that, that's all, it all comes down to really learning your plants and learning the males, learning what they can do, learning what they can handle, learning how they breed, learning what they pass along. And then also on the female side too, some moms breed really well. Some moms, like headband. Yeah, you can hit headband with damn near anything and it'll make, you can do a big enough hunt and you'll find something that's nice. There's some plants that are like that. Thanks.
So I'm curious. Do you breed indoors or and outdoors, or both, or either or?
So when we were in Oregon, we did both. We did indoor and outdoor. Here in Hawaii, we are fully outdoor greenhouse, no indoor facility. We're off grid here, off of solar, so there's There's no running indoor here. What we have is here in Hawaii, it's always flower time. So instead of like having to dep like you would on the West Coast or on the mainland, instead you have to run lights in veg. So like this greenhouse behind me is in veg. We run these lights from about 7:30 to about 10:30 to 11, just to keep things in veg. Then they get moved, and once there's no supplemental light, they trigger. So here it's kind of its own unique little grow area. So here we're just going to be doing strictly outdoor. And then the sativa stuff, the landrace stuff, we're doing all of that. No greenhouse whatsoever. Those are basically we're putting clusters in the jungle in little areas, and doing some preservations. And then long term, I'm trying to create a sativa plant that we can plant from seed here, and is just for our washing of a really unique terp into live resin. Grown with very minimal inputs. No trimming, just let them do their thing out in the jungle, chop them, freeze them, and process them. So that's kind of where we're at.
So, as you breed for climates outdoors, do you think it's a good idea for indoor strains to be bred for indoors? I mean, is that a silly question?
I'd say it goes more so indoor breeding to outdoor strains. Part of especially on a full term plant, they pass on in their genetic code part of the environmental factors that they've experienced in their lifetime. That is transmitted. I mean, that's the theory of how climatized genetics can even come to be, is that they are learning from their environment to shape the next generation. Basically anything that inhibits or anything that helps sexual reproduction is going to be passed along. And so that's on outdoor plants, that's huge. You want them to be grown in the climate, or bred in the climate that you're going to be growing for, if you're trying to create climatized genetics. And I mean, I've seen it quite a few times, where I've planted seeds from other breeders, and you can tell that they're indoor. You can tell that all their selections have been indoor. They just like cookies is a great example. Cookies is huge. Everyone loves it. Outdoor, you can tell a cookies plant from a plant that's meant for outdoor. It doesn't want to be in full sun. It doesn't want that any extremities. It wants consistency that an indoor facility would give. But people love cookies, so that's that. Sometimes you just figure out how to make it work and make it work.
Nice. Let me back up here. Somebody had a question. There's a couple questions here. I gotta go back, get here. One was basically, how much does the male bring terps and THC, or just structure and vigor? I believe was the question from Dreamer 77 Double D.
Yeah, so it's really varies strain to strain, and it really there's a lot of variables in genetics. So the more polyhybrid it is, the more unpredictable things can become. Some males will pass along potency. Some males will pass on higher terpene production. Some males don't. It's really about what's dominant and what's recessive. And on the female that's being hit, what's dominant, what's recessive, and what the combination brings to the table, and what and a big part of it too is also the selection numbers that we're talking about. What you see in 10 seeds is different than what you see in 100 seeds or 1,000 seeds. So I mean, that's something too that really has to be taken into consideration, and how thoroughly things were selected, how thoroughly that male was really evaluated. And in offspring, you can't just run one cross of a male and know what's passing along. You have to run, 5, 6, 7 different crosses to different females that you've even better if you've bred with those females before with other males to see how they pass along. That's what it really takes to be able to say for sure. If in 7 crosses they're all have enhancement on the terp, okay, well then you can say, yeah, that male is bringing that to the table. Like the dragon stash that we've been working for a number of years, the F2 red male that we seeded our outdoor with the last year in Oregon. He predictably, almost everything he touches becomes more mold hardy, more resistant, will get bigger, will yield better, and have more color. Pretty much across the board. You can run 10 seeds, and predictably you will see, really hardy, big plants that are made for outdoor. They're made for, short season, don't want to mold, don't mildew. A lot, and a lot of different growers have helped over the years to really help us focus down the gene pool. When we first did the Dragon Stash, we used 3 males, and then we kind of evaluated each of those males to see, okay, well, which is actually the best? Because it was in stress testing, it was so close. They were all, it was like one of those situations. I could not decide. I couldn't decide between the 3 males. So I was like, okay, well, here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to use all 3 of you, and we're going to have to evaluate and make our decision. And it ended up being, the red, as I call him, the red Jurassic. I'm sure, some people have heard me talk about that. They, trying to see if I have one right here next to me. I might. I think I do.
Cheers, everybody. Good time to light up this duber. Cheers, Amber Lalana, Brittany, Lexi girl.
So I don't know if it'll show up in the camera, but this is what I call the Jurassic. Do you see the double and the triple serrations? I don't know if you can tell through a web camera.
I can.
So that's what I call the Jurassic. It has the double and the triples. And when you see the whole plant in person, usually they're pretty easy to spot. They just look different. They look more prehistoric. And that pheno, I've seen it pulled off in northern Canada. I've seen it pulled off in Vermont, Maine, coastal Maine, Hawaii, California, Washington. It's one that, a lot of people have been able to find their workhorse, their strain out of. And it's one that, we've made a lot of crosses off of him for that very reason, trying to, capture that strength. And now we've kind of been working with it so long, we're going to be moving on, but it's been a really fun project that, it's taken a lot of time, but we're pretty proud of where it's ended up.
As a breeder, have you ever thought about putting him in tissue culture in case you ever need to accurately recreate a strain?
It's funny. I've kind of been looking for a tissue culture place, because we've lost moms, moms that have hurt, moms that can't be gotten back, that, years later, I'm still like, fuck, still, I can't think about it too long because it hurts. Like, it's just, no, you just gotta keep moving. There's new stuff, but, I would love to find, a reputable, honest, not a snake tissue culture place that.
Well, I tell you what, man, I interviewed Crafter Grows on Instagram. I don't know if you know who he is, but he, on his episode, or one of his episodes, he's been on a couple of times. He actually laid down tissue culture, all the supplies you need, how to do it yourself, and so you could just keep them, test tube them, keep them in your own fridge. The whole process, he walks you through how to bring them back and everything. So if you're interested in doing your own tissue culture and keeping your own samples and saving a shit ton of money, I mean, the supplies to get going were $100, you
Oh
know,
wow.
minus the refrigerator you needed to keep them in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Uh, so that might be, if you hit him up on Instagram as a breeder, that might be something that you could be interested in. Tissue culturing your own shit. A and B, mother and father. So, like I said, that's one thing I have a lot of trouble with the genetics pool in this. The strains throughout being recreated by other people, not credit being, proper credit being served when it
Yeah.
is, you know. I'm a firm believer that, unless to accurately recreate a strain, it almost has to be you, or I have to see your notes and have samples of, good samples of the mother and father stock to try to take off with and pick through from your notes to go, oh, this one's got that traits, this one's got that traits, that's what he's seeing. Now I need to cross these two together. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
formula that basically only in that creation. So that's why, you know what I mean? That's why I like the idea of tissue culturing mom and pops if you're going to move on. That way, if supplies ever run out or they come back to where they're in huge demand again, you could pull them back out and go, bam, that's
Yeah.
100% recreation of
Yeah.
what you had before.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I always keep, well, not always. I've fucked up and given out too many, but generally I keep, several hundred seeds of back stock. That way, if I ever, whenever I decide I want to do a line breeding, I can, pop enough to, find, a nice male and a nice female and further the line. But that, sometimes that hasn't happened. Sometimes I've fucked up and, sent out too many and then realized, oh shit, I don't have back stock. And doesn't happen very much anymore, where my wife has me a lot more organized. So that hasn't happened in a while.
Nice, nice. They were asking in chat. I want to make sure you get back here so I don't fuck it up. I believe it was a Pendragon. They wanted to know if you were the breeder of Pendragon.
Yeah, the Pandragon. So that that was the Mass Medical selected pheno of the Panama Powerhouse that was bred by demand, and I hit that cut to my Dragon Stash F2 males, and so the Pandragon is what came of that. It we released it probably three or 4 years ago now. I'd have to look back at a calendar to know for sure, but it's been a while. And when I originally made it, because it was a collab, I gave a third of the seeds to both D-Man and Mass Medical. And so that's kind of probably why it was asked. They Mass Medical released his third recently. Yeah, it's a line. Usually comes out like a super fast flower with some pretty lacquery, incense, spicy terps. There's quite a bit of variance in it. There's some phenos that are going to be pink hair, super sativa Panama leaners, and then there's what most people are keeping is the Dragon Stash leaners that have like the citrus and lacquer combo. Usually they're like 7 to 8 weekers and can take pretty much any amount of rain or fog and they won't mold. And they're super heavy yielders. That's usually the pheno that people seem to keep is that citrus lacquer one. And there's really colorful ones to find in there. It's a pretty fun line.
Nice, nice. So I know it's a tough question to ask which one are your favorites. So I'll ask it this way. Which are some of your more popular strains? Because there's a difference in favorite and popular
Mm-hmm.
there. I like that. The American one asked me, he's the one that put it the best there. He's like, I couldn't, he's like, you got kids? I'm like, yeah, I got kids. Which one is your favorite? And I'm like, okay, good question. All right, we won't answer that question. So, which one is your most popular, or you feel is one of your more popular strains?
I'd say right now probably our our best seller right now is the Blackberry Moonshine BX1. You know, we're probably that's gonna be one of our fastest actual sellouts, of like an actual commercial amount that we made specifically to release. Um, you know, that one, it's insane bag appeal, um, citrus, floral, gas. You know, is the main terp. You know, people are finding blue and red and purple colors in that line. Wicked potency. You know, we've got some really awesome photos of it, and you know, some really happy growers that have, you know, it's been one that people have found keepers out of very few numbers of seeds. So it's, you know, it's one I'd say is probably our most popular right now. Our Tahoe Dragon Cookies was another one that was really popular that sold out now, but we've since made a new version of it, which you know, we expect to release here shortly. Um, and that, you know, is a Dragon Stash to White Tahoe cookies. So it kind of keeps the cookies side with the doughy, you know, the cookies look, but it puts it on something that can actually perform outdoors. You know, it puts it on something that can take full sun, that can take rain, that can take mildew, you know, which cookies by itself will not. You know, at least in tough climates, it won't. Um, you know, so that one was really popular. The Dragon Stash, you know, has been, you know, for several years has been very popular. It's one that, you know, anytime anyone ever asks me one strain, you know, that will finish here and not mold, you know, it's always Dragon Stash. If you're gonna pick one, go Dragon Stash. Um, you know, and the people that find the red phenos of the Dragon Stash, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Flower with a really loud blueberry fuel terp. You know, so that's one that, you know, has made a lot of growers very happy. Which word of mouth is huge, you know, in this. When you make growers happy and you make smokers happy, they talk about it. Um, and then so I'd say for one of our like more unique lines, I'd say probably the Missy Stash or the Red Bulgarian. Those are both ones that are also pretty popular. The Missy Stash, that one usually comes out like banana fuel or banana Laffy Taffy. You know, some are just like sour, you know, where you can't really put your finger on the fruit, but it's like a sour, raunchy, boozy fruit. And that one has become popular because it's a aphrodisiac type smoke. Great for sex, great for yoga. You know, really uplifting, makes you feel good, and it's really dependable. Yields well. You know, it's not fussy. Can take the elements. And then the red Bulgarian dragon has that Bulgaria in it, which is you know, it has some CBD phenos. So that's one that a lot of like medical users that are looking for, you know, something that has a little bit of CBD, but they don't want just a pure CBD. You know, they want the full spectrum. You know, they want some THC and some CBD. You know, that's usually the one that I would recommend for that, because you can find some 50-50 phenos that have a really complex terp. You know, it's one I wouldn't even know how to tell you how to describe it. It's really pungent, but you know, until you've smelled it, there's no real way to tell you what it smells like. And that one, you know, there's a lot of colorful phenos as well. I'd call that one like a stretch indica. It's a broadleaf, but it's very stretchy, like a sativa would be. And it has pretty good levels of resistance. It makes really dense, thick buds. So in like really nasty years, it can have a little bit of mold issues. But in most seasons, for most climates, you know, that one's one that you can pretty predictably find, you know, in a 10 pack. You could find a few that are going to be, you know, what you're looking for and not mold. So I'd say, yeah, that's, you know, those are the ones that were probably the most popular and known for, I suppose.
Nice. So I'm kind of like in the hunt for the pines myself. Anything on your menu that I might find that would fit that category?
Do you want it in an indica or a sativa? Is the question. On the indica side, the Hindu dragon and the rude dragon both have some Christmas tree, pine sol, that kind of chirp. Um, on the sativa side, the Yunnan dragon, which is a Chinese land race from Bodhi to the Dragon Stash, that one also has some pine tree phenos. I will say on the Yunnan Dragon, the pine tree phenos are not my favorite. They do have that terp that you're talking about, um, but there's some that are like a fresh citrus lacquer, and then there's some that are like a blueberry lacquer. And then there's also chocolate. So when you find those, seem to be what people more gravitate to out of that line versus the pine tree terp. But if you were a pine tree terp fan, that might weigh you a different direction.
I like the both, but it sounds like if I want, the heavy pine terps, I'd probably lean more towards the indica side, which
Yeah.
I guess kind of leads me to my next question. There is, what on your menu would be the sociable smoke that you would suggest? That one that you want to take to a couple friends and smoke, have some few good laughs. The one that would encourage that good laugh. Do you have one on the menu
Yeah.
that
So
you'd
I'd
call a
say,
sociable?
the Missy stash would fit that. I'd say it's sold out now, but the Congolese Kush, if you could find packs of that, does it as well. And then the Orange Dragon Rider is also another one that's um, giggly, uplifting, social buzzy smoke. And that one too, if you show it to people, that one usually comes out bright purple. So it's also one that, if you're going to smoke with people and they see the bud first, is even going to be that much more enjoyable. I don't think I've met very many people that don't enjoy colorful flowers before they smoke.
Nice, nice. So, what is your favorite profile? Do you prefer?
Um, oh, that's a hard one. For me, the two that I gravitate the most to are blueberry, like that true blueberry, and then the raunchy side, like the nastier the better. Um, I those are the two basic ways that those are the ones that speak to me. Um, and then like the blueberry, there's several of my lines that will have blueberry phenos, just because it's one that it's a terp that I really enjoy, and I find it's pain killing without being debilitating. It's something that you can smoke and still get shit done. A lot of the stuff that I find that's pain killing, it also is super heavy or narcotic, which is fine if you're trying to go to sleep or you're trying to sit down and relax. But there's a lot of times when stuff has to get done, but you still want some pain killing. And that's what I find for that blueberry terp, is that it's something that you can function and still be motivated to get what you need done, but have that body pain killing side, at least for my body chemistry.
Nice, nice. I'm sitting here looking at this question, and I was debating on whether or not I would ask it, but I guess I will. I guess first of all, I want to lay my opinion down on this, and then you can jump in on that as a breeder. Uh, Dreamer77 Double D would like to know, how did Dragon Flame Genetics determine their price of their seeds, as they have different flowering times in seed production? Okay, this is my answer on that. Man, the price of the seed is worth what it is. You know what I mean? Especially in a true breeder, like I'm hearing from this gentleman here, it sounds to be, that does the quality work. It isn't a one shot and done. Now I'm throwing out seeds. Uh, if it's done correctly, it takes a few years, a year, 2 years to get a quality strain out to market. Uh, which is time and money out of the pocket invested into a project that may or may not yield any fruits to the labor. So, the price of that seed, mm, that's a tough one. It's hard to put a price on that, but in my opinion, it's worth whatever it is, because if you on your end, if you've paid a quality price for that seed, you're more or less going to get a quality genetic out of it 9 times out of 10. And if you take care of it, that plant will yield you for the rest of your life. Is that worth $15, $20? Yeah, I think so. If you like it, and for 15, $20 for something you could have for the rest of your life if you keep it right. It, I don't know. I understand the
Yeah.
question here, but anyways, what's your thought on that, Dragon Flame?
Yeah, so that's something that we've debated a lot on, to be honest. We started at 60 to 80, depending on, the line. And, um, when we first started, we were using pretty basic packaging that was, more inexpensive. Um, and it's been one of those things too. A lot of our pricing is more from our vendors, from what they, decide that they want to set it at. And then usually, they're usually the ones that are the most on the pulse of the market, and not just from like my breeding company, but from the market as a whole. And it's definitely, there's pricing at all ends. And we try to be on the affordable side. Um, and that's, I think right now we're at 80 to 120, depending on which vendor you go through, which, from what I've seen is pretty, seems pretty fair. I know there's quite a few, breeders that are selling for significantly more for less seeds. And all of our packs always come with a full pack of freebies. And we always 100% stand by our product. If there's ever, germination issues, which, don't happen that often, but shit happens. It's a living organism. Um, you know, Stuff happens, and we always make it right. And it's one of those things. Uh, my wife and I have really debated, what the fair pricing is, and we still go back and forth. Um, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to what people are willing to pay for your work. Um, and I think at the price point we're at now, we're affordable, and people seem to be, you can ask any of our testers, you can ask people that are growing our work, the vast majority would say that they are very, very happy with what they ended up having to pay for our stuff. And usually we also do auctions too, with our house build. We've done, we needed to, get power, or to get this or to get that. We've done some auctions from stuff that, from our vault that's not going to be released. And, those typically go for more than what our packs are retailing at. So in our mind, too, that also kind of, at least to me, shows that people are, see the value, and, that's the hope. And we also give out a ton of free seeds. We usually give out several thousand a year, at least, to all of our vendors, that they just hand out with every order, not even from us. We're still very much in that building our name and building our reputation. And one of the surefirest ways to get someone to love your gear is to have them grow it and be fucking thrilled with it. So, that's been, that's our basic philosophy. And, I know at the end of the day, you can't please everyone, and I know at times I don't want to pay too much either. So I see both sides of it, for sure.
I do too. I've been on the other side. I haven't been on both sides, to be honest with you. And I still see the value in that seed. Uh, like you said, there's a lot of, from start to finishing, to packaging, to advertising, if you will, trying to get that word of mouth out there. Testers mailing tester packs out, all cost money. All cost
Yep.
money. Power to
Yep.
yeah, it's worth it to me. It's
Yeah.
honestly worth it to
Yeah. We just finally this last year started doing where it was for years. I was paying to send testers to everyone, and this last year, I finally had kind of hit our breaking point, and I was like, you know what? 90% of the people we're sending packs to, we never hear from again, and we're sending out quite a few. It's adding up, and so we've started making people pay the shipping. We send the seeds, the tester. We'll send testers for the price of shipping. And it's amazing how well that weeds out people that have no intention of ever popping those seeds and taking pictures, and giving us a smoke report, letting us know how it does. And it's funny too. I mean, there's guys that have been testing for us for years that they don't even have to say anything. Like, they know that when I have a new line, they're going to get testers off of it because they've done such a good job. People that take photos, give us smoke reports, let us know the environmental factors, document. They don't have to want for C's. Like, I'll keep them plugged. We always have more stuff coming out that needs testing. So I think we're pretty fair with what we do, but I know everyone has an opinion.
right, right. Sounds like you're doing it right over there. That's for sure. I don't object to the paying for the shipping of the seeds. I mean, that's I've been there, brother. I've been on that tester side, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And
Yep.
that's another frustration of putting a strain out there that people just don't understand the effort and the testing alone.
Yeah.
Can be if you give a shit. That's the thing that another thing that frustrates me when we talk about genetics is I almost wish that at some point we could slow down on the genetics so we could actually figure out what the heck we've got before we start moving forward.
Yeah.
Because man, there's just so many people just throwing pollen out right now that, and
Yeah.
again, if you're, I guess if you're doing it for just your own, just to keep your own stuff going, hey, power to you. But it's the ones that are taking that and trying to spread it. It's the next best thing that it's
Yeah.
really kind of getting to me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely see it too. And I think part of that, I think there's definitely, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but I'm sure you've seen it. I know I've seen it where there's companies that have 50 strains coming out every 2 months. It's like, those aren't tested. Let's be honest. When there's definitely some ethics that have to be evaluated, and this is the big thing is this is like it's a living tapestry. It's more than just like genetics isn't important. Like it's huge, and so many things have been lost, so many things have been diluted, so many things have gone extinct. It's harder and harder and harder to find true climatized heirlooms that used to exist. you know every georegion in the tropics used to have its own sativa, at least its own sativa. Cannabis will thrive in damn near every climate, and so every climate that can support it has at one point in time. And humans have done so much to eradicate and to alter that. And so, I mean, I think it's a big part of, I personally, I think every breeder should be considering the mark that they're leaving on genetics and the quality of the genetics that they're putting out and the legacy that it leaves behind. Because some things can't be undone. The genie can't be put back in the bottle. But I also, there's it seems like there's 1,000 new breeders every week. So, there's good ones, and then there's, some that are in it for all the wrong reasons, that goes with humans. wherever there's humans that don't have to, there's good humans and there's some crap ones.
Oh, that's for sure. And it's a bummer when there's people throwing them out there like that, because as a few other people lately have been very quick to point out, and it's very true, worthy of pointing out, um, that people on the other end are taking a huge chance on their end. When they purchase those seeds, nobody wants go out and buy some seeds and get a garden full of Hermes, or have to that be their medicine or their investment for their long-term and medicine, and then get shit genetics, and it has to be tore down, and just because they've got a bunch of herms. And I
Yeah,
wish there'd be more quality breeders out there. Like I said, slow down, take the time, do the testing, put quality out there. Like you said, leave a legacy, not a tragedy behind you. Don't go out there and just make that quick buck and bolt and never be heard again. You could be
yeah,
fucking up a lot of people's lives and gardens that way.
yeah,
There is some ethics there, should be.
yeah. Should be. Yeah, and I mean it's definitely one of those things too. I mean, a lot of modern genetics is so polyhybridized with, cookies, chem, and tush that, and there's a lot of people that's all, a lot of breeders that's all they're working with. And I just, at least my personal opinion, I don't think I think it's a lot harder to leave a true art using the same thing, like using, you know, the same cuts that everyone is using. That's not where the truly special, um, the truly special plants are not there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love fucking Kush. Like TK is great. It's a phenomenal smoke. Um, but there's some disadvantages too what a lot of things that are being done with all the polyhybrids on polyhybrids. And um, we're definitely in a bottleneck, and definitely in a spot, and not just with cannabis, with a lot of different crops, with a lot of different ecosystems and planet systems and wildlife systems. I mean, there's a lot of widespread loss of species that, when they're gone, they're gone, and I don't want to be part of that. So
You just touched on a nice point there that I like to point out, man. Is I think things will get terribly blended. I'm terrible. I don't like hype. You know what I mean. I'm very noted for saying that. Once things are like super out of control, big cookies, like if you will, I just don't want that shit in my garden at that point. I don't want to. Damn it, I'm a misfit. I don't want to be like everybody else. You know what I mean? So so do you? And that's what I'm afraid that will happen in breeding anymore. Is people are I will just take especially these one and done guys
yeah,
that are just wanting to breed with the hype just so they can smack it on that label. And
mm-hmm.
some of these newbies are not, oh, it's got cookies in it, oh, it's
Yeah,
got to be good, I got to get that, instead of breeding back with better genetics and moving forward, and not just breeding with hype because if you put it on your label you think it may sell. uh, is that something that you believe in too, is just working with something more that interests you instead of working forward with just something that may be hype at the time?
yeah. I mean, the way that I kind of look at it is, I don't think you can really make a truly unique name for yourself using just cookies, just Kush, just OG, just gelato, any of the hype. Like, that's just my personal opinion. That, and most of the hype strains, with a few exceptions, like GMO, I would say is an exception. Most of the hype strains I've come across are not worth the hype. Um, I will have to admit, GMO is a smoke that I love, that raunchy, nasty terp. and I can see why that strain has earned a reputation. There's a lot of strains that I come across that, no, this is the cut. You have to try it. It's the cut, and then you try it and you're like, eh, and it's sad when you go to a cannabis event. Like, if you didn't know anything about cannabis and you went to an event, you'd think that cannabis came in like 4 or 5 terp profiles. And that could not be further from the truth. I mean, there is a whole anything that nature can smell like, cannabis can smell like. I mean, the amount of variance in what the smells and the tastes that cannabis can do is truly unique in the plant kingdom. And that's always been my thing, is I want to smell something I've never smelled before. I want to taste something that I've never tasted before. I want to see what matches. Like, how do I feel with this terp? How do I feel with that terp? How does it interact with me? I mean, as a breeder, we are in this special place to be able to run a lot. Like, we have, at least I know I do, I've got a fridge full of seeds, a lot of lines upon lines upon lines upon lines. Like, I can go through, and it's like, I just can't imagine growing just a few of the same over and over. I have a much too short of attention span for that. I'm like to experience the new stuff. I like to see what I can create that, I want to open a jar or a turkey bag to someone. I want them to put their head in it and be like, holy shit, what does that smell like? What is that? Like, that's the end result. Gas is gas terps, cookies is cookie terps. Like, it's been done. It's not new. It's been done, and it's been done and done and done and done, and it's been done 1,000 more times. And so I think it's really hard to really try to create something original out of such a narrow section of what cannabis can do and what cannabis can be.
Yeah, there's definitely somebody was I was talking with somebody the other day, I think yesterday, the day before, that was trying to tell me they had come across like a baked turkey smell. I'm like, get the hell out of here, turkey! And they're like, yeah, man. And I'm like, come on, what?
I've smelled salami, I've smelled pepperoni, I've come across Stetson perfume, gravy, pizza. There's definitely, especially when you start getting into outlying genetics, there's some real magic into what cannabis can make on the terpene level. There's still, as many seeds as I've popped over the years and as many plants as I've run, I still come across things that surprise me, I think that's one of the coolest things about cannabis, is it always has more to show. It always has more to give. It always has, something else that you can experience that, what other plant can do that? There's not. It's cannabis.
Right. Well, it's one of the great wonders of the plant that, I'll never be
Yep.
done hunting. I'll never be done hunting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
I just can't do it. The whole right now, I almost refuse to answer that question. What would be your, trapped in an island strain? I can't do it. I couldn't nail one down. Even to this day, I've had a lot of amazing cannabis, but the hunt's not over. I haven't found the golden one that just, yeah, I don't know. It's out there, I'm sure. Is there a lot of ones I could bear with? Hell yeah. Could I call one out? I don't, that's tough. That's tough.
Well, and the thing too, at least for me, is there's a strain for every purpose. There's strains that I smoke for morning. There's strains for sleeping. There's strains for pain killing. There's strains just because they taste awesome. There's such a wide variety. It'd be really hard for me to try to narrow down. That's a question I don't think I could answer either. I mean, there's a few that kind of play in my mind. Like I'd have to have an African sativa of some variety, for the mind magic. I probably would want a Kush for the narcotic. And then for me, oh man, there's so many fucking good strains. That's a hard one. That's a really hard one.
You brought up a point there too. I mean, that magical roll of the dice there is something that I think big pharma's scared of. They can't. There's such a wide variety in strains for different purposes, and even in them strains, a magical roll of the dice. How could they ever come across and put that into a pill form that magically hits it all? I don't think it can be done. Every environment changes it different. Every gardener tweaks it a little bit, which we kind of hit upon this a little bit last night on the show. How much do you think, as gardeners here, or growers, or however we want to look at ourselves, can we really push this plant one way or another? We were talking last night about trying to change terps or strengthen terps, or get bud structure a little bit denser. I mean, how much control do you think, as a gardener, do you really have over the plant?
You know,
Or I guess, or should take. Let me throw that out there.
well, the what instantly comes to mind is if you think about mustard. The mustard family started, and there's now so many offshoots that are only because of human breeding, from broccolis, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. There's so many different branches that single plant species has been developed to. So, I don't know where the limit is. I don't know what the threshold is for what we can do to improve cannabis. And frankly, I hope we never learn. I hope we always are able to keep pushing forward. And I hope that's my hope anyway, is that it always has something new to offer. And I think part of it too is, as growers, we learn as well. The longer we do it, the more interactions you have with plants, the more symptoms you see, the more hurdles you have to overcome in your garden. I mean, let's face it, you grow for a long time, you're going to see every pest eventually. You're going to see them. You're going to learn what happens. You're going to learn what the plants look like when it happens. I mean, there's so many little things that, the only teacher is time and experience. And so I think, that's a big part of it. We only have one lifetime. And, it's in the grand scheme of evolution and plant breeding, a human lifetime is not that long when it comes to really pushing a plant species forward. I mean, we can do a lot in a lifetime. Don't get me wrong. I don't see. I mean, they're still finding new terpenes. They're still finding new cannabinoids. They're still finding. There's so much knowledge that the black, the illegalization of the war on drugs has done to stifle scientific knowledge on this plant. I mean, I don't see us being in our lifetimes done learning about cannabis, and I doubt it'd be in our kids' lifetimes either. I mean, if humans even get that many more lifetimes on this planet, I mean, who knows?
So, in my opinion, a lot of the potency lies in some of the longer weak strains. Unfortunately, I don't have the patience for a lot of the weak strains. But do you think that there could be a happy medium, or can the shorter flowering times compete with some of them heavy hitting long flowering strains?
Um, that's a loaded question. I would say in the balancing act of selections, you know, you take and it's a give and take, you know. I personally, when I'm growing for myself, I always take a strain way past what a normal person in their garden probably would take it. I personally, I smoke so much that I want it fully ripe. I want every bit that the plant has to give when I harvest. So for me personally, I personally, even the strains that people say, oh, this is a 6 week strain. Well, when I grow it, it's not a 6 week strain. It's a 12-week strain. That's kind of, and then so on the other side of that, on outdoor, except for California, I've lived in climates where nature dictates sometimes, a lot of the times when you harvest. When you look at the weather forecast and you've got 15 days of rain or 4 feet of snow coming, some variables end your season. That's just part of farming. Um, and I've at least seen on full term gardens, I generally only pull when nature tells me I have to on a full term garden. And, the later you get in the year, the deeper they get into flower, in my personal opinion, the better they get. That's just, there's some exceptions. Like there are some strains that I've seen that I'm like, okay, I could see why people are saying it's done at week 8 or 9. But personally, I tend to go long. If it's for head stash, if it's like, for what I'm going to be smoking, for what I'm trying, like if I'm trying to, see what the flower can do, I'm not pulling it early. I'm going to see what it can do and how far it can go.
I I love that. I agree right there 100%. And it's nice to know that I'm not the only one beating that drum, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I believe, them guys that are telling people to harvest, so early on, they're cheating people out of a lot of weight in their garden. You know, here we're talking, a lot of, I can see that's, peak flavor, I guess, and I guess that's a beauty's eye in the beholder, or in the taste of the mouth, of the beholder there. But why cheat yourself? We're limited on numbers and shit like that. Why would you cheat yourself out of that extra, bigger, fuller flower,
Yeah.
uh, trying to pull so early?
Yeah.
That's again my opinion, but I, it took me a long time to figure that shit out. By the way, I've been growing a long time, and when I learned that sweet spot, I was like, I have been screwing myself for
Yeah.
years. It was my thought on that matter. It doesn't, in my opinion, sway that taste that greatly. In my opinion, I'd much rather have the weight of the flour, and have more to enjoy myself. It's, again,
Mm-hmm.
just me.
Yeah. Oh no, I see it a lot when people will tag me in photos of our gear, and I don't say anything, because I don't want to. When people are happy and they're harvesting, like I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. And a lot of time though, I see it a flower, and I'm like, man, you should have let that go 2 more weeks. Like anytime anyone asks me how long should I let it go, let it go 2 more weeks and then see. And I think that's just part of having to learn patience with the plant. And it definitely, plant health is a big factor as well. Obviously, the longer into flower you take it, the more chance for things to go wrong, or for, obviously, like I would never recommend spraying flowers. So, if a pest moves in, it's pretty much going to establish. So, sometimes you just, it's, sometimes you don't have a choice, but when given the choice, I would always recommend just let it go. Let it go another week. See what it'll do. It'll probably be better.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. 100%. 100%. So, do you have any training tips, either in veg or for flower, to help some of these guys or gals uh, maximize their gardening experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to some strains like to be trained certain ways and some don't. Generally, I do top most plants. The exception being if I'm doing the first evaluation, I want to see what their true structure is. But generally, I top. On outdoor plants, usually what I'll do is I'll have an inner cage, and all through veg, I'll be pulling the branches down and out through the bottoms of the cage, you getting them to bush out. And then usually once they start stretching, that's when I'll stop doing the training on outdoor. Um, and then usually on an outdoor full-term garden, I'll have an inner cage and then an outer cage. And on the big plants, even a third, because you don't, uh, when they get rained on, when they're deep in flower, they get heavy. And, losing branches that could have been a QP, you don't like to see that. So, that's on outdoor plants, especially on indoor, that there's so many different ways that people do indoor setups with so many different light techs. I don't really have a blanket answer other than to say indoor, you're trying to grow nodes, not leaves. So, try to aim for as, a wide of a canopy, and whatever light tech you're using, there's a rated depth of canopy that light can cover. And so that's usually on indoor what I would leave. If you're using 1,000 water, that's not getting through more than 18 inches of canopy. So all the shit under 18 inches on indoor, my opinion would be go. Because that's where you're going to have your issues, is where you don't have the airflow, where you don't have all that nice breeze, and it's all going to be larf anyway. So, on indoor, that would be, my my general suggestion is whatever your light canopy can do, that's your canopy. That's how much flower you want to leave. And the better you grow, the more you can fill that in, the more colas you can have. I mean, that's the name of indoor. Fill your canopy up.
So, is there a lighting source that you're preferring, or you have that you think that is ahead of the game right now?
On indoor, it was always something that we've done or that I've done, but it always felt wrong. Like, I've always been a sun-grown grower as well. So the indoor has always felt a little like it's not what my passion is. I do it. I know how to do it. Done it for years successfully. But I mean, it's not. I hate feeling like I'm just spinning the power. And that's what a lot of indoor is turning your money into light. 1,000 watt HPS, tried and true. I filled a lot of rooms over the years with HPS, 1,000 watters. Digital and magnetic over the years. The DEs are nice if you have the headspace. The LEDs that I've seen, I don't think they're quite there yet. That's just my opinion. Don't get me wrong, there's some excellent ones on the market. I have a buddy that loves Affluence and crushes it with them. I just still think they're at that price point, and the tech is advancing so fast. I just don't think they're quite. If I was gonna set up an indoor facility, I probably would do Gavita. I mean, that would not Gavita brand, but double-ended. I wouldn't buy equipment because they're owned by Monsanto. But double-ended.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Nice. So, where do you see Dragon's Flame Genetics going in the future? Is there anything that you're passionate about that you guys see yourselves heading towards in the future?
Oh man, we are still very much hungry and building. We have big plans for this property. Someday we're gonna put in a real permanent greenhouse. Right now we're using just simple frames, and then we have the other property that has an actual legit greenhouse concreted into the ground, like a real kit. In that spot where we are trying to find and create the most elite stuff that we can that will grow here in Hawaii. And our kind of thought is if it can take the humidity here, it's going to crush on the mainland. I mean, that's, selecting for PM and mold. That's not a bad thing. And someday, where we are envisioning this farm is we are envisioning a food forest with fruit trees and permaculture gardens. We're envisioning raising tilapia and maybe even doing aquaponics. I've been doing a lot of research and debating maybe trying an aquaponics greenhouse using the tilapia. But there's so many crazy ways that this plant has taken me that I can't even predict. 5 years ago, I would have never told you that we'd be here chatting in Hawaii in front of my greenhouse. So it's hard to say where we're gonna go. I will say that my journey with cannabis is nowhere near over, and I have no intention of ever willingly stopping breeding and growing. I'll be doing this until they bury me or cage me is what I usually tell people. I'm happiest when I'm in my garden. I'm happiest when I'm growing. And I'm a daily, almost all day smoker. I want to consume the absolute best, and nothing beats growing your own and knowing exactly what went into it. And especially when it's something that you've bred, that you've created, that there's nothing like that. It's a super special connection that you get to the flower and to the plant. So yeah, we've got so many plans. So it's going to be, the next couple of years are going to be pretty intense. But we've got a lot of things coming. The last year that we were in Oregon, when we knew that we were moving here, we did a lot of breeding, making stock. So the next few years is going to be a lot of testing, a lot of pulling phenos, a lot of, running through lines that we've made to see what's crushing, what's worth releasing, what needs to be put on the back burner, what needs to be brought forward. So we've got a long way to go.
Sounds like you guys got a lot of work ahead of you, that's for sure. Hard work.
Yep.
Fun work.
Farming ain't easy. It's demanding for sure.
It's there's not another job I think that's so gratifying though. I mean, this thing definitely is helps you fulfill your soul as you're working with it.
Yep.
It's not like you said. There's not been a moment that I've regretted it myself.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's there's something special about it for sure. I know I feel pretty blessed to be able to do what I love and to make a little money at it and be able to be a property owner and have some control of our lives. And, I can't imagine putting on a suit and tie and going into work every day. I'll tell you that much. I am much too set in my ways now.
Oh, I definitely agree. I've asked you. I don't know if you've had children, but I guess as somebody that's deep into cannabis as myself, if you do have children, would you ever consider this to be something that would be multi-generational? Would this be something that at some point you would
Yeah.
encourage the next gen to take hold of?
Yeah, I have a son, but I don't have custody of him. And my current wife and we don't have any plans to have kids. But if if we did, then yeah, I would. I think if nothing else, learning where your food comes from and learning how to grow and how to, have a skill that, at the end of the day that you can use, those are key things. And if nothing else, learning the discipline of gardening, learning the work ethic of gardening, and learning, you know, that, there's days that, if it's pouring, hot as fuck, humid as hell, there's days that, you know, the conditions aren't always peaches and cream. Sometimes it takes, you'd rather be in bed, but that's not how life works. The plants want what the plants want when they want it, when they need it, and the plants don't take excuses. They when they're ready for when they're for whatever they need, they're you know especially on outdoor. The way I look at it is you're in a marathon. You lose time, you don't make it back. You lost it. It's that's the difference between at the end of a full term season having a plant that's yielding 8 to 10 pounds versus 2 to 3. Is it's every day hitting the right buttons, putting in the work, putting in the effort, and just making it happen, and having nature and genetics cooperate.
Oh, I can only imagine how stressful an outdoor harvest could be.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty intense, especially on a big garden. Um, I know my wife and I, her first outdoor harvest with me, she was very much blown away by how much space it really takes to dry, and how pretty much every aspect of your life goes to it. Like all your clothes are gonna reek, everything you own is gonna reek. Um, there's gonna be trim everywhere, and it's not like for a day or two. Like it's a process that can't really be rushed. So there's that's just part of the life, though. You either love it or you don't. I think that's what it comes down to.
Oh, I know. I definitely love it, but it is definitely a never-ending process. That's for sure.
Yep.
Uh,
Some days are easier than others.
I'd say one of the things about that process too is if there's really nothing to throw away. I mean, as we go on and learn from this plant, there's almost everything can be utilized in one way or another. Even if you say, like you say, yeah, you're passing it on to the soil as far as feeding it to your worms, or you could be juicing that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what you can do with the plant is really crazy anymore. Boil the roots down for anti-inflammatories. There's people using every every ounce of it. It's incredible.
I've always been a big fan of. You always see them at Emerald Cup. There's always someone that has turned one of their outdoor stocks into a big ass walking stick. I've always meant to do that, and then harvest comes and shit gets sideways, and I always forget to save one and plan on doing anything with it. But I've always thought that'd be pretty cool to turn one of them stocks into it's like a carved nice walking stick.
Oh, heck yeah, that'd be badass for sure. You could even train it into one, a really
Mm-hmm.
cool walking stick.
Yeah.
Nice, heck yeah. Uh, let's see here. We've covered quite a bit tonight. Is there anything shout outs to anybody you'd like to any testers or anybody like that? Any
Oh man,
straight out shout outs you'd like to give?
I don't want to leave anyone out, but um, right now a big shout out definitely to Lava Zone Genetics. Yeah, he helped us put our roof on our house, and he's been a great asset here in Hawaii. Really nice guy. He's got a high standard for ethics as well, and like breeding properly. I think he's and he just processed some of our fresh frozen for us. So definitely a shout out to him. Um, and there's I don't want to name testers because we have so many that I don't want to leave anyone out. I just want to do a blanket shout out to everyone that's running DFG gear, that's posting photos, posting smoke reports, spreading the word, telling people this is what we grew, this is how it came out. we appreciate the hell out of all of you. We literally could not be doing what we're doing at this scale without you guys. So, thank you. And all of our vendors as well. Neptune Seed Bank, Nucleus Seed Bank, Helidank Seed Co., Canada Seeds, Well Grown Seeds, Toke Online. We just took on another one in Australia, and I totally brain farting what his company name is. But you guys rock. Thank you for all that you do in helping getting our genetics out there. And to everyone that's ever naysayed, thank you. You've been great motivation to fucking piss you guys off. So
Man, it's gotta be amazing to see something you created, around the world. You know what I mean? It's gotta be pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of our strains too. I started in the medical era, so a lot of our strains that we've been working have also been for medical reasons. And there's, life is not always nice, and it's a real blessing to hear back that something that I helped create, is helping them get through life, or not having seizures anymore, helping deal with cancer, or, all the amazing things that cannabis can do to better humans' lives. This is a pretty uniquely special path to be on. And it definitely, I've met so many people that there's no way I could have met all these people, like, if it hadn't been for cannabis being in our lives. Like, there's so many awesome people all over the world that, there's a lot of good, as much as the news would have you believe otherwise, there's a lot of good damn people out there doing good work, that care. And, there may be some snakes too, but there's some good damn people out there. So
A lot of great people in the cannabis community, that's for sure.
mm-hmm.
For sure, man. That's a lot of the reason why I do what I do, and is getting to meet them people and show the community that there is so many great people out there, still. And it's been, I don't know if it's been the luck of the draw or what, but man, I have been very lucky in pulling out some great people out of the cannabis community, and to have them share their lives and their stories with. And man, you're right though. I have yet to find one that's like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? It's, they've all been pretty good stories and amazing people, and yeah, it is a great community. I love the events that we've been kind of cheated out of this year, but I get to go to tomorrow. Oh, by the way, there's one here in Michigan. I get to hang out. But
oh, nice.
You know, them events are great, man, and they're a shining example of how great this community can be. It's
Mm-hmm.
fun times getting to smoke with people. Tomorrow it's
Yeah.
gonna be fun. It's actually in like a campground. It's a campground atmosphere, and you can actually camp over at night, fucking campfire, so you can like meet some of them new friends you've met like tomorrow night, and then sit down around the campfire and fucking chief all night if you wanted to. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, there's definitely, and it's always fun to see what passionate people are creating. There's I've come across some truly phenomenal flower that, where there's passion involved, humans can do some awesome things when there's passion involved. And, it's always fun to see what people are proud of and what people are working with. And, it's been kind of cool as a breeder. I've got to go to a lot of people's gardens, and something that I've noticed is that no matter what this problem may be, everyone comes up with a slightly different, unique way to solve it. And every garden I've been to, there's been something that if you pay attention, there's something that you could learn that your brain probably would never have even come up with. That I've seen some stuff that I'm just like, how the fuck did I not like that's genius. Like, how did I not come up with that? How did I miss that? And it's truly amazing what all the different cannabis is a weed. Like, I don't like to call it weed, but it is a weed. It'll grow in some fucking crazy, a very diverse range and different diverse methods, and it's pretty interesting to see the crazy setups that people come up with.
Oh, that's for sure, man. It's very resilient. I don't. I've seen people cringe at some of the techniques I've done to plants just to control an overgrown plant or well, just oh, I'm like, don't worry about it. Should be tomorrow. Should be fine. Should be fine.
Yep,
Total recover.
definitely.
At least good ones, anyway. So, do you guys do anything else with after like pre-harvest? Is there any other methods that you guys utilize from the plant? Do you guys make any butters, creams, hashes, or anything like that for yourselves? For yourselves,
Yes.
keeping them for
Yeah. So usually, usually when we trim over a trim bin and catch all the keef, and so we'll have the keef usually is private head stash usually, or we'll put it in butter, we'll put it in coconut oil, or and then my wife and I, we make tinctures a lot with glycerin and just a simple crock pot, and usually that we just hand out to our friends, and you know anyone that has any type of pain or sleep or anything like that kind of issue, some tincture will make that right as rain. And then my wife makes candies with usually she'll use either the hash, or she'll use glycerin to make into candies. And then I don't do them very often anymore, just because I've gotten older and not really into like partying so much. But when I was younger, we used to always do the alcohol tinctures with 151, and you just put it in a jar and in the dark for a few weeks and shake it up once a week, and strain it out, and I mean a shot or two, and just you're having a damn good night. But I haven't made any of that in a long time. And I used to do bubble hash or make bubble hash. From going forward, though, that's not what I'm going to be doing anymore. We're going to be having Lava Zone genetics. All of our seed making from now on, usually that material, after I sort the seeds out, I would bubble hash. But bubble hash is such an art, and it really takes a super clean environment and cool temperatures to really get right. And here in Hawaii, you just don't have that. So going forward, we're going to be having him make a butane hash for us and doing the vacuum purge and all that. So I'll be, no longer making bubble hash. That it's such a time consuming process that I just don't have the time to do anymore. And it's something, if I'm going to do it, I want it to be like really nice. And it's, there's definitely, it's something that you can't rush. It takes doing the proper steps in the proper order to get it perfect. So.
not a rising guy.
I like the rosin a lot. I just I've never had a press myself, and I've the only people I've known that have had presses, they've been pretty small ones. So it's like, for a lot of material, it's never really seemed that feasible to turn it all into rosin. That, and it seems like it has a shorter shelf life. So it's like, if we made a bunch of it, it's not like it's something that we can just keep here in Hawaii and it not go bad. Whereas like the other stuff we can. It's a little bit easier here.
So that sounds pretty nice, man. It sounds like Hawaii would be a nice place for you guys to call home for an amazingly long time. I can't wait to see how things progress in the next year as you guys get things fully set up and fully in swing. Uh,
Yeah.
I know you guys be killing it out there.
We're gonna give it our best shot, that's for sure.
Any anything that's like to be like on the release soon list that you may want to let anybody know about to keep their eye out for?
Yeah, the next two releases we're doing the Dragon's Garlic Breath. It's an older line that we originally, when I tested it, I loved it and like knew that people that grew it would loved it. So we sent like 5,000 packs of it out as freebies, probably 2 years ago now. And we've since then we've gotten hit up by so many people that are like, we really want another pack of that. Are you're going to release it type of thing. So we decided we're going to send 30 packs over to Well Grown. He's the only one that's going to get them. And that'll be like the last chance basically for people to grab that line. Comes out like acrid garlic, really great hash, really terpy with just that nice, that tacky feel to it that comes off the hash plant side. And then the other one is we are officially releasing the Dragon Stash F3s. And we're going to do that. It's going to be kind of different than we usually do. A single technical pack of the Dragon Stash is actually going to have 2 vials in it. One is off of our red version of the line, and then one is off of the green version. Same dad, but they're different mother expressions. And so we thought that we kind of debated doing like 5 and 5 or a mixed pack, or releasing them as separate. But we decided let's make it fun and just go ahead and put the 2 packs into one. So like they'll have wax seals on. The red will have a red wax seal, and then the green will have a green wax seal inside the Dragon Stash packs. So basically, people will get 22 seeds instead of the usual 11, but it'll be off of both versions of the Dragon Stash.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome there. You want to tell everybody where they can find? Go ahead and look for your genetics.
Yeah, so we have our website for direct orders to the U.S. only at this time, and that's dragonslamgenetics.com. And then for international orders, Nucleus Seed Bank and Neptune Seed Bank both ship worldwide, as far as I know. They did have a temporary blackout due to COVID, but last I've heard they are shipping worldwide again. And then Canada Seeds for Canadians, and then Well Grown Seeds as well as another U.S. seed bank, and then Speaky. I need to remember his name. He brand new vendor, just got a drop. It's in the mail right now in Australia. Man, I can't remember his damn name. That's a stoner fail right there.
Do they come in? What type of packaging do they come in? Just 11 packs?
Yeah, so we do right now. All of our release lines are regular seeds that have 11. We say 11. Usually they have like 12 or 13. Usually we put an extra 1 or 2 in there. And then every pack that people buy, it also comes with a freebie line that has not been released yet. That it also will have 11 is what we say, but typically 12 or 13. And then we send stickers and that kind of stuff. And right now we're just in Mylar packaging. Although we've been debating at what point we're going to transition to like a professional pre-printed industry type packaging. We just haven't quite made that jump to the more expensive stuff yet.
Sounds like a deal to me. I know from people in chat had already been kind of on the site, and we're like pricing and looking at packs. I know the one they said you were out of, and they were saying the price. I don't know if I should or want to say the price on the air, but I can tell you this from for 11 pack and a chance for some extras, I thought that was a great deal. You know, I know a lot of companies that are selling 5 packs for just under that. So yeah, I think 11 for that price is very fair, very fair, and yeah, that's awesome that you're providing good genetics at a decent price. So hats off to you, brother.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, we definitely, we're trying to find that balance between being, affordable enough that, people can get it and not break the bank, but also, enough that we're competitive and, um, so that's, I'm, yep.
There was a couple questions in chat here that I seen. I want to make sure. One gentleman wanted to ask him if he knows Jamal from excuse me, Forbidden Fire. Uh, any bells that ring in there?
Is that, do you mean the username or that the strain that you're talking about? I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I'm guessing that I don't know. To be honest with you, I have to wait for him to reply. I guess. Oh, I thought there was another one.
Well, I guess the short answer is no, it's not ringing any bells. But like I said, I smoke an awful lot, and my short-term memory not that great. It's not personal, but I'm bad with names. That's always been my crutch, or my not crutch, my weak suit.
Right on, right on. I seem to have lost the other one, but yeah. So oh man, I know there was one more, and I hate to miss my questions. I'll just say go off my own stuff then. So is there any particular one that you're fond of out of the lineup?
From which lineup? Just my whole lineup?
You're, yep. Is there any of the parents, I guess, that any females that you're excited about working with currently, or strains you're excited about working with currently?
Yeah, the big one that we're working on with right now in Hawaii is we have a Maui skunk dog. I'm pretty stoked to dance with her for a while. She's notoriously bulletproof here in Hawaii. People will say you could drop her in a puddle and she won't mold. And so far, I'm experiencing that myself in our torture tests. That she absolutely will not mold. Nice gas terp. So she's one. We're probably, I haven't decided if we're going to reverse her next or if we're going to use a Blackberry Moonshine BX1 male. I'm kind of torn at this exact moment just because our last reversal didn't go so well. So I'm like, I should just do another reversal and give it another swing because, we really want to. We've been getting hit up a lot lately. Well, not lately, for a long time. We've been getting hit up to start working some feminized lines for people, and we've been exploring it. And I've tried to reverse some of our flagships, and I don't know if it's just me being a newbie or if it's just the way I've been breeding. But my best strains will not reverse. They will not make pollen. The pollen that they do make is very minuscule. And the sacs don't want to open. So it's been one. We've been trying to get some feminized stuff off the ground. So far it's not gone according to plan. But I think we are going to try on the skunk dog. Just put her on a few of our lines and then work from there to. Basically, I'm trying to get that mold resistance into more things, but put some more different terps than just a gas terp. See what we can come up with. And then another one that we're pretty on the more heirloom side, we came across a Cambodia pheno that's red stem with red flowers, out of Indian Landrace Exchange's stock. And it has a really nice lemongrass, swampy terp to it. And so far, she is absolutely bulletproof here in Hawaii as well. So we've got a few fun projects that are going to center kind of around her and getting her genetics into some sativa stuff, and then we're also going to put her into some modern genetics and see if we can find something that has that sativa flair, but that doesn't take all year to flower. It's, kind of that's what that project will be. And then we also are going to do a preservation using her as the selected female. And then we'll probably also will do an open pollination on the Cambodia as well. But that's probably a year or two, maybe 2.5 years away. There's a lot of balls up in the air and trying to balance which is going to be the most, the best move and the best, project to take on first. And so it's all kind of a balance.
I'm laughing because I'm reading this question in chat. Justin Gooder says, Eagle Gardens, I'm a pollen chucker. How do you recommend storing pollen? I don't know because I'm not a pollen chucker and I don't, work that way. But my guest here might have some suggestions on storing pollen for you, but not me myself. I don't have any golden gems on pollen storage for you. So, if my guest has some tips for you, there you go.
Yeah. So I sometimes store pollen. I generally use live plants to do pollinations, but when you're trying to store pollen, the big enemy is going to be plant material in your pollen, causing moisture and mold. So the biggest thing is before it goes into the fridge or freezer, you have to get every single little bit of plant material out of it. Otherwise, it's not going to stay viable. The method that I've found to be the best is, usually I'll let the male flower until it's just about to have its main opening of sacs. Like there'll be some early sacs that open and release pollen, but I'll wait until the core are going to open, and I'll trim them and put them in a vase, get all the fan leaves off and out of the way, and then I'll put that on like either a box or a cookie sheet, and then I'll put some mosquito net down, and then I'll put the plant in the vase on the mosquito net and let the sacs open. And most of the plant material will be sorted out by the mosquito net. The pollen will fall through because it's small enough. Most of the plant material will be caught by the mosquito net, and you can just lift it up and on your way you go. If you do get plant material, then you get to be like a cokehead and use a credit card and sort out your lines of pollen and try to get every bit of plant material out of it. And then it needs to go into the fridge or freezer. The fridge will store it, 6 months, a year, maybe. Freezer longer. But the second you take it out, it starts dying. Pollen is in nature does not last long. Humidity, rain, all kill it off. So once this comes out of the fridge or freezer, it's going to start dying really fast. So you need to get to your plant that you're seeding as quickly as possible, and do your pollinations. If you're trying to do a small pollination, usually I would wet down the plant part that you don't want pollinated, pollinate the dry part, bag it, let it set for 2 or 3 days, come back, take it off, and you should be good to go. Obviously do it on a still day, not in the wind. Obviously if it's windy, your pollen's going to go everywhere. So that's pollen chucking 101.
Right on. Appreciate the tips. I appreciate the tips. He says, he says the freezer part is what he needed. Heck yeah. Like, he got some tips out of that for sure.
Awesome.
Passing the knowledge along. It's awesome. Let's see here. Is there anything else I've missed that you'd like to cover tonight? Any tips, tricks, any other knowledge?
Man, we've hit a lot of subjects. Nothing really is screaming out at me, you know. I mean, I think just the biggest thing is, you know, anyone that's, you know, involved with cannabis is, you know, do your best work. Try to learn what you can about the plant. You know, it's a crazy time right now to be a grower, both in legal or black market. There's a lot of chaos right now, and fires and all that shit ain't helping. So, you know, I've got a lot of respect for, you know, anyone that's sticking it out right now, because it takes a little bit of grit. You know, it does. And my hats off to you, and, you know, follow your passion, and wish you hopefully it fucking works out for you. You know, I think that's about what I would have to say. And
Well, I'd like to make sure to tell you that you know, you've been an awesome guest, and I don't know what your schedule is usually like, or if you get to catch a lot of the show. Hopefully, if you haven't caught the show before, hopefully you'll check it out in the future. A few episodes anyway. It usually is live every day. The panel shows or the rabbit holes are usually open for anybody that wants to jump in. Past guests, you got to be a past guest to get in the rabbit hole, but the Zoom numbers are always the same. So
yeah,
keep that. You know, if you're interested, keep that Zoom number in case, you know, you're hanging out and you flip it on and you see us talking about breeding, or you everyone just pop on and be sociable. Hey,
sounds
we got
good.
the numbers. That's for sure. I can't wait to get you back in the future to see how things are going, how you've progressed out there in Hawaii, what you've got new coming for everybody. That'd be pretty damn awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
nice. The other thing I'd like to ask you for is I do this little soundbite thing, which uh, I have been a little busy, a little lax on, but I do post them up as soon as I get a chance and use them kind of for advertisement and a marker for your episode. So could you give me a sound bite? Basically, what I'm looking for here is, you know, hey, this is Dragon Flame Genetics, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 201. You can add anything to plus or minus to that if you want, but that's pretty much the gist of what I'm looking for. Anytime you're ready, we're recording
Yeah.
this section of it anyway.
This is Jeff with Dragon Slam Genetics. I'm here talking shit with Eagle on his YouTube channel. And stay free, stay high. Oh, episode
Hell yeah.
1.
There you go. Man, it has been a pleasure tonight, and man, I'm glad that I got you on the show and could direct some people to some great genetics, to a breeder that actually, or team, I should say, that is very passionate about what they're doing there and putting out some kick-ass fire genetics there. And man, I hope you've had fun tonight, and hope you will take me up at some point on jumping in on a latter episode, and you know, or maybe even be open to if I put on like another breeders discussion, maybe being open to talking with a few other breeders on you know, quality or whatnot. Either
Yeah,
way, I'd like to
definitely.
hear from you again.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Man, thank you. And you have a wonderful night. And I look forward to hearing from you real soon. And man, I can't thank you enough, man. Time is too precious and it goes by
Definitely.
too quickly. And you gave me a nice chunk of yours tonight. can't thank you enough for that, my friend.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Have a good night and aloha.
You too, man. Aloha. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode 201 with Dragon Flame Genetics. I learned a lot. Great guy. And man, I hope just look forward. I hope you guys check out his Instagram and his website. Look for some of his genetics and give him a follow. Thank you for being on the show. That wraps it up for this portion of tonight's episode 201. Thank you guys for tuning in. Can't thank you guys enough. I do greatly appreciate it. For those of you that may not join in for a rabbit hole here in a few, thank you again for tuning in. Do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives, they do change lives. I cannot emphasize that enough. And you guys have a great night, great day. For those of you that want to jump in the rabbit hole, give me a few to gather up some stuff, get a few things done, and I'll see you in a bit. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Peace.